And as I said, there's going to be a little bit of a delay since I'm coming through Zoom and then live into the Facebook group. But it looks like it's working. So if you have any questions or comments, just throw them in there. Elsa is also helping, so she can monitor anything that I miss. So this is yesterday, and let's slide through here. Okay. So yesterday, you're not meant to be wealthy. I mean, we covered a lot, and really today, in a lot of ways, is a continuation of this conversation. It's how the systems are set up to work against you, not for you. Now, can you get them to work for you? Yes, absolutely. But the key point, the key takeaway is to understand that the systems are designed to work against you, not for you. All right? So wealth is the measure of one's understanding of money. And I just can't emphasize that enough. Once you understand money and the systems and everything, like the whole ecosystem, how it works together, how it conspires to work against you. And so I guess the big question is why would it work against you? Well, because it's working to give somebody else the advantage. And that's what you have to understand, is that the system wasn't built to give you an advantage. It's like a casino. And you just have to think about that, right? They do everything they can at a casino to make it inviting, to give you a warm, fuzzy feeling. And so as a result, you get in there, you come into the casino, and they offer you liquor, right? Drinks. They even offer food. For the right kind of a gambler, they will also give you lodging. So the advantage is to the house. It's always to the house. And that's what this whole conversation is about, the house. When it comes to you and me, the house are these predatory systems that I started to discuss yesterday. And so let's scroll down here a bit. So we went through all of this, the Federal Reserve, I think I misspoke at one point because the Bretton Woods meeting and act that actually happened in 1944, and that's where the U.S. dollar was actually became the gold reserve, right? I mean, the global reserve currency. So, and everybody at that point, everybody that came together at that meeting agreed to hold a certain amount of gold. So, okay, let's go through here. So what are the 5 principal predatory systems? We're going to finish up this discussion because we only got to the Federal Reserve, and then we got to the, what did we get to yesterday? Let me look here. And again, I'm sorry, I have to look at 2 different screens because I have notes and stuff. Let me do a quick search here. Yeah. Okay. So where are we? So the 5. Yeah. So Wall Street. So we talked about. So I talked about Federal Reserve, which is a central bank. There's actually several Federal Reserves in the United States, but they all come together for one big collective. Then Wall Street. And now we're going to move on from that. Okay, so what's today? Today is get your money straight. So we began to look at this system that conspires against us, right? And let me slide down a little bit here. Here is an important thing. Now I want to show you down here at the bottom, at the end. So you have 2 pages of notes, right? So this is, as a trader, and I talked to you about me being a trader, right? I talked about me trading and trading the Forex markets. It's important. One of the first things that I work with a trader on is for them to understand that the mechanics are not as important as the habits and the consistency. Okay? The same thing is absolutely true when it comes to money and wealth. And this is part of the illusion that we live in, and I'm going to talk about that more. So again, you notice how I just typed all these. You can just keep typing in, and I've got it fixed, so you have 2 pages of notes. You don't even have to write it down. You just type it out, and then right over here, you just click on save. It'll give you this option to save it however you want to save it. So you get like save, and then put a little note on it or something, so you know that it's the file with all your notes in it. All right. So again, I did a lot of work on that to get it cleaned up, but we're definitely moving forward. So let's pop back here and let's move forward with that discussion. Talking about the trader, talking about the system, and all these kind of things. And this is like a cautionary quote that I'm sharing with you. Again, a cautionary quote. And this is from Warren Buffett. Be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. So if you sit back today and you look at the bigger picture, the markets. Oh, yeah. I think Elsa's saying she's not seeing the notes section. Again, there's a delay. So let me see if did the notes finally come up or not. Oh, it doesn't look like it's updating, does it? Well, that's not good. Screen sharing is paused. How do I change that? Okay. Thank you for that, Elsa. I apologize. There we go. Now I'm seeing an update. I'm going to pop back down here to notes, and I'll wait for it to catch up. Just to make sure. Okay, great. So you can see where I typed in that note. Mechanics are not as important as the habits and the consistency, right? Which I'm definitely going to talk about more. So as I was sharing, you can type as many notes as you want. Yeah, and I'm waiting for it to show here. So I just typed in a few more lines, and yeah, there we go. So you can see that the overlap. So I think I'm not sure if the audio is ahead of what you're seeing or not, since I'm actually coming through Zoom. But yeah, we'll figure it out. Okay. Yep, there you go. And then again, if you're going to save, you just up here at the top left, there's a little save button, or you can do File, Save, and then you get this little message. And from this message, you just save it wherever you want to, and you can name it whatever you want to name it. All right, and that will keep all the notes that you put in here. And again, there's 2 pages of notes. 2 pages of notes. So plenty of room to take notes. Okay, so back to Warren Buffett and the quote, "Be fearful when others are greedy and greedy when others are fearful." And this is really a counterintuitive thought. And the interesting thing, to me, it's really a powerful thing, if you as a trader can get this in your head, and it's not just in reference to trading, this is just in reference to money and wealth in general. If you can get it in your head that when you're following and doing what everybody else is doing, that's when you have the greatest risk. That's where you will have the greatest risk. And it's so counterintuitive, but that's one of the biggest things about trading is it's counterintuitive. You have to think opposite, and it's hard to do that especially when you don't even understand what opposite is. Okay, so if you can learn to begin to think like this and begin to process everyday life this way, you'll begin to take on a different perspective of the systems, the monetary systems that we are all involved in. And you can't not get away from it, right? It's part of living and it's part of life. So you are going to be affected by it. You're going to be affected by it and you're going to be affected by it. It's just the nature of the beast. It's the game that you and I are in. And it doesn't matter what country we're in. I want to be really clear about that. Now, the United States does it different than other countries, but that's true. Other countries do it different than the United States, and that's fine. There's a game everywhere being played. Now, the higher you go, the more similar the games are, right? The more alike they are. Because as you go up financially, you're getting a smaller and smaller group of people who are actually the puppet masters controlling everything. It's a very real thing. It's not conspiracy. It may sound like it, but it's not. It's real. Okay. All right. So let's slide down here. The dream. And this should be a fun discussion on some levels. On other levels, it might be very unnerving. Okay. The dream is the distraction, not the truth. So what do I mean by that? Well, the question that follows gives you a hint of what I mean by that. Whose reality are you living? Whose reality are you living? Let me get to my spot here. Okay. Really think about that. If you could just spend like the next week, like every day, asking yourself, whose reality am I living? You might be surprised what you begin to notice. You've got to interrupt the process that happens every day in your life automatically. You've got to begin to challenge that. If wealth is going to become a thing for you, you've got to begin to challenge your reality. You've got to begin to figure out what it is. Is it yours or is it somebody else's? And if it's somebody else's, what does that mean? What's going on? What's happening? And if I want it to be my reality, then what is the reality I want? See, that's the other side of the coin. You can't just passively say, okay, well, I don't want to do what they want me to do. Because then it comes back to you and it's like, so what are you going to do? What do you want? So are you ready to, and the first blank here is going to be, are you ready to wake up? So that's the first fill-in. Because that's really what it is. It's waking up from a system that has intentionally distracted you. Okay, and let's make sure that is Elsa. Okay, thank you, Elsa. You got that perfect. All right, so we're all, looks like we're moving smoother today, which is nice. Okay, so yesterday I talked about the Cantillon effect, right? I talked about how money, when you have money coming into a specific spot in the economy, wherever that is, wherever that money's coming in, whomever is receiving that money and handling that money they are benefiting from that. They are profiting from that, while everybody else is losing from that, because what they have available to them, where the money comes in, their benefit is that their value of what they have grows. But to everybody else, their money actually discounts everybody else. And that's a functional part of our monetary system. This is because money is being printed without value behind it. So the money's not backed by gold, it's just paper. And today it's just digital, it's just numbers in a bank computer. So next I talked about America's monetary system is based on debt, right? I talked about, remember I pulled this out of my wallet, right? This money. All of this represents debt. None of this is real. It's only real because you and I agree that it's real. We trust it enough that we're willing to work for it. We trust it enough that we're willing to take it as payment. So we have that confidence in what that paper money will give us and what it will do for us. But remember, yesterday I talked about the gumballs. Remember the gumballs? So in 1913, $100 would be like 10,000 gumballs at a penny each. And today, and this is being nice, that same $100 would be only 400 gumballs. 10,000 versus 400. That's huge. And that's what's happening. You're losing this value in your money over time. Even if you're investing and you have it in these places that you think are safe, you have to understand that inflation is absolutely robbing you of your wealth. And it's just the way the system is built. Remember, I talked about, let's see here, where did I talk about it? No, that's too far. Yeah, I think it was up here. I got to get this filled in so I can. This gold. Yeah, that's not going to work. I got to get those blanks filled in and get that posted for you. Okay, so back to the 5 principles of predatory systems. I talked about Federal Reserve a lot. I talked about the central banks a lot yesterday, right? And then I also started the conversation with Wall Street. And I really, we can drop down to that real fast. And that was just a series of questions, because the whole point there was I want you to start thinking about what you're doing. And if you're somebody that is investing and understand that the market right now, it has been going up for, I think this has been one of the longest bull markets that we've ever had. And the thing is that it's really easy when you get caught, when you get into a bias in the market like that and you ride it, you do really well. But if you don't ever take care of your profit, and this is where so many people fail, you end up losing all that profit. And it doesn't take much to lose that. So I want you to think about it. And then I also want you to think about, okay, so who's actually doing the transactions for you? Is it in a 401k? Is it an IRA? And, you know, do you actually understand what's happening with your money? Or are you trusting somebody else to do it for you? And an important question there is, what are they doing with their money? Do you know? Are they willing to tell you? That's so important. So look, I'm not a financial advisor, right? I'm not a certified financial advisor. What I'm doing is I'm sharing my experience, my learnings, and I'm sharing what I do. I do these things. Everything I talk about doing, I do. I have, and I do continue to do today. So I'm always focused on wealth. And I'm always focused on taking responsibility for my money, my wealth, personal responsibility for my financial future. Okay? And I think that might be a great note here to add. Let me slide down here. So I'm always taking personal responsibility for my money, my wealth, and my financial future. Okay? And you can add that to your notes if you want. Now remember, this is recorded, so you can easily go back through this and you know, fill in. If you miss any notes, you can fill it in later, so don't worry about that. And yeah, there's a lot. So because there is a lot, it's to your benefit to study this a couple times, right? Because this is a 5-day window for you. You have access to a level of information that's just not commonly out there. Take advantage of it. This is an opportunity for you to change financial direction, change your financial course. Okay? So I'm going to leave these 3 spots blank. We're going to come back and forth to them. Okay? So I'm going to slide down here. Okay. How do these systems work against you? Let's go right here. Okay, how do these systems work against you? Okay, first thing they do is they focus on emotion. Okay. The second thing they do is they focus on convenience. These things work against you. Emotion, convenience, and so emotion and convenience are their weapons of choice. And let's see where we're at here with Elsa. Okay. Okay. Still running a little bit behind, but that's okay. That's just the way the technology works. Okay. And again, if you have questions, just pop them in the comments. And, you know, if you're here, you know, let me know you're here. And it's great to see you here and know that you're here. I do see several people watching and stuff. Yeah, just double checking that. Okay. The less So these systems, these predatory systems that I'm talking about here, that I've been talking about, that I was talking about earlier, they focus on emotion, convenience. Those are their weapons of choice, because that's how they can manipulate you and me the most. Think about this. Think about casinos. Think about what they do. Very much driven by emotion. High energy, filled with colors, lots of activity, right? Very welcoming, very inviting. Drinks, food, and they'll serve you right there at the slot machine, at the table, the card table. Convenience, right? They'll even put you up in the hotel if you're the right kind of client, right? So again, emotion, convenience. Why? Because the longer you stay in that casino, the more money they're going to make from you. Not by selling drinks, not by selling food, not by staying there, but by gambling. Because that's the business they're in. Okay, so the next step, so on top of that, the less you have hang on. I think I did it to myself again. Oh yeah, I left out a word. Okay, so the less you have to think, I'll just fill it in 2 words there. The less you have to think about, the easier it is to control or manipulate you. You and I should say, okay? So think about that. Emotion, convenience, weapons of choice. Okay? The less you have to think about convenience, right? The easier it is to control and manipulate you financially. All of this is about money. Make no mistake. Money is the game. Money is the system. So let's look at the next predatory system. Okay, so what is the next predatory system? The next predatory system is banking. Okay. If you're not, why would banking be a predatory system? Well, you just got to ask yourself. There used to be the saying back in the day, your local banker was your friend, right? But we had a different relationship with bankers back then. Remember how I walked through the history of banks, central banks and stuff like that in the United States. And I talked about one of the biggest issues they had was the run on the banks. People had doubts in the government. If they had doubts in what was happening with the banks, no problem. They just go withdraw their gold. Their gold, their money. Okay? That financial ability, right, it gave people leverage. Now, the challenge with that is that when we have this government trying to formalize and to serve a bigger need for the whole, that inconsistent flow of money or availability of money creates challenges. So, okay, what was I going to say here? I know there was something I was going to type. I got off track. Banking, why is it a predatory system? It'll come back to me. I'll go back down there in a moment. Okay, so banking is our third predatory system. And why? Okay, I think that's what I'm going to go to. So let's talk about that a little bit. How much money do you think banks make? Oh, I know what I was going to say. Okay, so banking. Watch the movie The Big Short. This movie, if you watch it a few times and pay attention to the subtleties, you'll begin to understand just how the banks did what they did. And what they did was horrible. And this created this, there's this term called a transfer of wealth. And I don't want to jump into that right now. I think that takes us off topic, but that's a great movie to watch. There's so much in that. And that happened, that was the 2007, 2008 credit crisis, okay? And it's important to understand that that collapse was prevented because they started printing money. They printed almost $1 trillion worth of money to protect the markets. And that has put us into this situation right now that is frightening, but that's way beyond the scope of these 5 days, okay? Okay, so let's get right back here. All right, let's look at the next predatory system. That was the banking. Okay, what are the 4 types of, so I'm talking about banking, what would be, what might I be referring to of debt, right? Or actually, I say debt. Of loans. Now, I want you to think about this. Remember, okay, so emotion, convenience, weapons. Think about your debit card. Think about what the bank does with your debit card. They charge you overdraft fees that are really just extraordinary, right? But they also, on the other hand, they're willing to let you overdraft your debit card, your account. And so it's like this, so it's a convenience to you, right? Well, oh, I need this extra $10 right now because this is what I want. I want to make this purchase immediately. It's not really a credit, but I'm going to go ahead and make that purchase, even though I know I don't have that $10, that $20, that $100, right? And if I do not cover, in other words, put that $10, $100, whatever, into the account, into my bank account to cover that, I will have received an overdraft fee. So, convenience, emotion, the want for something in the moment, right now, they're monetary weapons. So suddenly they're making money off of overdrafts. And literally, there's no cost to them in doing that. And they have a system that allows them to create that exposure with their depositors, with their customers, if you want to call yourself a banking customer. Okay, I think that's a bit of a stretch. Okay, so the first one is consumer. So I say loans, debt, however you want to phrase that, okay? So consumer debt, consumer loans. Second one is, so consumer loans, consumer debts, that could, you think about your credit cards, right? Little miscellaneous stuff, your debit card, that thing that I talked about where you're spending more than you have because you have this kind of a little cush on your debit card. So they've given you this little extension of credit that allows you to spend more than you have. And all of this, right? And there it is. So it's absolutely all about getting you to spend more than you have. And it's not just the bank that thinks like that. The whole system thinks like that. I believe I talked about that yesterday, when we were when I was discussing the lockdown, right? The pandemic, the lockdown, and the monetary crisis that it created. Well, had everybody not spent every last dime they had, people could have withstood a shutdown. Businesses acting responsibly, banks acting responsibly, like they expect you and I to be responsible, could have easily handled this momentary stall in the economy. But that's not how our system is built right now. That's not how our system works right now. They don't want you holding money because our system, so it's a fiat currency. I'm going to just stay down here in the notes for a moment. It's called fiat currency. Fiat currency is a fancy term for Ponzi scheme. It's just the truth. If you and I attempted to do what our government does with fiat currency, with the currency, with this, if you and I attempted to do what the government does with this, we would be thrown, we'd be in jail. They would arrest us. Okay? But that's how we operate globally. It's just a big Ponzi scheme. And the point there is that because it's a Ponzi scheme, how does the only way for a Ponzi scheme to work is money has to flow. It has to circulate. Okay? So if money's not circulating, the float, the Ponzi scheme breaks. Because suddenly when money stops moving, everything starts to try to settle. In other words, money's owed here, there, and so then it tries to reconcile, and it can't. But as long as money is circulating, reconciliation is always kind of pushed off to the side because it's the flow of money that's actually doing the reconciliation. But there's always this balance. There's always this balance sitting out there that's never resolved because it's a Ponzi. So there's not enough real dollars in circulation to actually resolve the debt that exists in our society. And this is why it's so important for you to take ownership of what these 5 days. If you don't do this, then you're actually saying, well, I'm okay with what they do to me. You're actually saying whatever happens, happens. Well, we've never been in a situation like we are today. So it's scary. You don't know how bad it can get. And they're not going to tell you how bad it can get because they don't want you to be afraid. Okay, so consumer debt. Okay, so what's number 2? Number 2 is auto loans, auto debt, mortgage loans, mortgage debt, and oh, this one's just horrible. Payday loans. But all of this, so what's the one thing that all these things have in common? It's debt, right? They're loans, but it's interest. Have you ever asked yourself, how come I don't have money to put aside? How come I don't have the size, the emergency fund that I would like to have? How come I couldn't survive 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, whatever your thing is? How come I couldn't survive past that if I lost my job, if I lost my income? It's because of interest. The interest is robbing you of wealth. I'll say that again. All of these loans, this debt through interest is robbing you of wealth. It's robbing you of your future. And I know my words aren't the kindest words, but you really have to look at it that way. Because when you make a decision to finance anything, you're actually making a future choice. You're actually saying that, okay, I don't care what the future looks like. I want this now. That's not how wealth works. That's how money and income work. And that's how let's slide back up here. That's how emotion and convenience works, right? The more emotional they can get you to be. Think about the commercials today. Think about all the emotion they try to put into them. And then the convenience. What's the convenience of so many of those? It's a pill. It's one little pill. It'll make you happy. Let's see. It'll make it easier for you to live. You know, just think, there's all kinds of different medications and stuff. But those are the ads we see every single day, right? Emotion, convenience, emotion, convenience. Okay, so many people want to, okay, again, this is coming back to emotion and convenience. So many people want to be long, to be valued, and seen as worthy. And if none of that's true for you, then I'm curious how you're living. And I'm curious why you're here if none of that's true for you. Because that goes back to emotion and convenience. And I'm just going to pound that in because I want you to get that in your head. This is not your game. This is somebody else's game that you're in. Okay, what is one of the easiest ways to give people a false sense of purpose? Are you getting the common thread here? Emotion, convenience, belong, valued, worthy, consumer debt, auto debt, mortgage debt, payday loans, a false sense of purpose. What happens when all of this comes together? Okay, where is my, okay, false purpose. Oh, okay. Okay, you ready? So listen to this. What happens when all of this comes together? Unconscious habits are formed, and here's the part that's really tricky. It's not just that the habits are formed, they are rewarded. So all of this is happening because of this system. Okay, I'm going to pop back to Wall Street here a little bit, and let's talk about Wall Street for a second, right? And how, which is going to bring us to the next point right here, which is mainstream media. I should have put two blanks there. I didn't. Okay, mainstream media. So we're going to come back down here to this question. Let's talk about what Wall Street for a second. Let's talk about Wall Street for a second and how mainstream media works against you. Okay, have you ever heard the term talking heads? Again, and I know you're going to get tired of me doing this, but I want you to really get this. Emotion, convenience, weapons of choice. Well, talking heads. James Cramer, I think it is, right? That does the Mad Money or something like that. Every network channel has some kind of financial program with some well-known financial guru or expert. Well, in reality, that's entertainment. The news is happening at that level is old news. It may feel like new news to you, but the reality is it's removed from source. So the big players who are intimately involved in all of that, those decisions and stuff, they've already been reacting to this. They've already been making choices and taking actions based on this. So by the time we get to the talking heads, what is that? Well, they are a critical part of the Wall Street narrative and the mythology and the illusion. Because Wall Street needs those things to function. Wall Street needs a narrative, a controlled narrative. They need the mythology. They need the illusion. So you and I don't question systems. We don't challenge what they're doing. So we're willing to have a 401k and not be concerned about it. We're willing to have an IRA and not be concerned about what it's actually doing. We're willing to have a broker who probably isn't doing any better than us financially, making financial decisions for us. decisions that are determined by his brokerage company for the benefit of the brokerage company. So do you get the pattern? Again, casino. And so all of this is working against us. So what my goal here is to get you this one page, really, this one page. If you will just take time and soak this up, like keep that in your mind locked until it actually finds a place to land, until you actually begin to think, wait a second, I get what he's saying now. Because what happens with your auto loans now? If the value of your truck or car is not enough, in other words, you have more debt than you do value of car, what do? They don't say no to you getting a new loan. No. They get you the new car, they get you out of the old car, and then they take that debt and they wrap it into the new car. So you're not just buying a new car or a new truck, you're also coming along with that is the debt from the previous, right? Interesting, right? Think about it. So what are they keeping you in? And this is something that I would have added, but I didn't. All of this is keeping you and I in a cycle of debt. As long as they can get you and I into a cycle of debt, there's no way out. You have to be so consciously aware of what's happening, or you'll never get out of a cycle of your cycle of debt. It just won't happen because the system is so automatic. The system is built around emotion, convenience. Emotion, convenience. You don't have to wait. You can have this today. We will help you have it today. Let us help you have the quality of life you deserve today. But just understand that tomorrow is not going to be lived on your terms. Because we're taking any hope and any possibility that you had for tomorrow, we're actually taking that and cashing it in today because we're actually giving you access to it today so you can live it today. Tomorrow we can't help you with. That's going to be rough. But they don't tell you that. The mortgage. Okay, this is going to upset some people. And I know it, and it's just, I'm going to say it. And fortunately, I have at least one person I can reference and back me up. And that would be Robert Kiyosaki. What does he say about a house and the mortgage? It's not an asset. If you don't have wealth, a solid wealth foundation, I'm going to say this is going to upset some people. You have no business owning a home unless it's free and clear. But then that would mean that you have wealth. So again, prefacing it with, if you don't have wealth, then you're going backwards. You're building backwards. Because remember the car, the truck, the loan, they kept wrapping the debt into it. And they're going to keep doing that. They don't care. Again, money has to flow. This is a Ponzi scheme. Money has to keep circulating. So that's why they just keep moving the debt forward. Remember how I said the debt never really settles as long as money is flowing? That's the point. Okay. Now, the mortgage. Let's get back to the mortgage. Okay, yes, are there tax benefits? Yes, there are tax benefits. I'm not a CPA, so talk to your CPA. But I will say this, and I've lived it, so I know this. If every time your credit cards get out of control, if every time that you're wanting to go on vacation, you have no choice, the only way to make it happen is to get another loan, to use a credit card or something like that. Well, the go-to has been the mortgage, the house. Why? Because the value of properties has gone up consistently in a lot of ways, right? In a lot of areas. Like even right now in where I live, it's stupid crazy, the prices of the houses around us. I'm like, who's buying these houses? There's no way. But again, emotion, convenience. Emotion. What's the emotion of a house? You own the house, right? What's the emotion of a car? You own the car, right? Ownership's an emotional thing. But what about the debt? Well, not even that, but the cost of owning a house. I believe in the rental market, like if on your properties, there's like a 2% cost. And somebody could correct me, that's fine. But it's in that area. So think about that. If you're not thinking about that expense of the upkeep of your property on a regular basis, so not only do you have the mortgage payments, you have the insurance payments, and then you have the upkeep of the property. It's a cost. It's an expense. And what did I talk about? All these four things. What do they all have in common? Interest. And what does interest? Interest robs you of future opportunity. Interest takes away your immediate power to build wealth. But it doesn't do that for those who are receiving the interest, right? So what happens? So you get into debt again. You get into this cycle of debt. You have more consumer debt, auto debts, payday loans, stupid stuff like that, right? I'm not calling you stupid, but it's just, it is. It's a stupid process, but we're taught to do it because it doesn't benefit. It benefits us temporarily, but then this future that we have is just, it's non-existent because we've given it up for a small sliver of time. Interest. Well, a mortgage front-end loaded with interest, right? You're paying interest up front. So you have over a decade on a 30-year note, you have over a decade of huge interest payments. Very little principal being paid. But property value goes up. Back to that discussion. So now you have this equity. Now you're thinking, oh, I got to get a break here. I got to reduce some of this debt. These credit cards are killing me. And so what do? You refinance. Refinance, you clear your credit card debt, you clear your car payments, and you may even decide to go take out enough that you can go on a vacation. So now all of that debt has been wrapped into your house. So whatever value that your house has grown, I mean the worth of your home has been consumed by more debt. So essentially you're giving up your equity to temporarily deal with a situation that was created because of choices that you made, choices that were, unconscious habits being rewarded by emotion and convenience. Do you get that? Think about that. Connect those dots. That's so important to understand that. So, I think we're at a good spot here. We've definitely been at it about 60 minutes. And there's easily more, but there's no need to go into it too much, because this today is really get your money straight. This is probably, this right here, if you did nothing more than just listen to this over and over and over again, the value you would get from this one session is priceless, because this is what's stopping people from creating wealth. So tomorrow, see, I told you I might not even get past that. So let's think about this. So really, did I cover? Yeah. So we still have. Think about this. There's still one more principal predatory system that I haven't spoke to. But I think it's part of this, so I'm going to wrap that up. And I'm going to share that, and then that'll wrap up this session, okay? So, and that is consumerism. Okay? Consumerism. Because all of this right here that I talked about is consumerism. The only reason you have consumer debt and auto debt, mortgage debt, payday loans, is because you are consuming. There is something that you are spending your money on beyond just living. And the worst kind of debt is the payday loan. Why? Because they're so predatory in the interest rates that they charge. They charge up to 100% or more on some of these small payday loans. So absolutely robbing you of any potential wealth opportunities. So that's a mouthful. That's a lot. Just these 2 pages. There's just so much in it, but all of it lives right here. And you cannot get your money straight until you understand this, until you understand how it works against you. See, everybody thinks that more is the answer. Like, well, I'll get a second job. Okay, I have a second job. Now I'll get a side gig as well, So I just think more and more and more. I just work harder and harder and harder. I'll make more money. But if none of this changes, all that money just goes towards what? More consumer debt, more auto, more car, more truck, more mortgage. Because, a nicer house would be nice, right? But is a nicer house or a nicer car or a nicer phone or a nicer laptop or computer, is that going to actually benefit you 10 years from now, 20 years from now? Was that no? Well, if it's a no, wealth would benefit you 10 years from now. Wealth is where your head has to be at. This right here is their game. As long as you're willing to play that game, wealth will never be a real possibility for you. You are leaving your future in the hands of others. And when your future is in the hands of somebody else who will not care as much about your future as you should, it's going to be a very dismal future. So I'm going to pop back here. And any questions or anything? It's hard for me to tell exactly where the video's at. I see the screen moving around, but like I said, there's a gap, and I apologize for that. I'm going to have to check that out and play with it so I can understand how much of a gap it is. But neither here nor there. That really covers everything today. And I think I said, yeah, tomorrow. So tomorrow is day 3, no plan, no wealth, no future. And so we're really going to break that down. No plan, no wealth, no future. It's just that simple. Okay. I'm James Possible. I'm going to stop sharing here. I'm James Possible, and this is the second session of Fast Track Your Wealth Strategy for 2021. Day 2, getting your money straight, which means ultimately getting yourself straight. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.